Today I'm going to go over the Unit 2 Bridges pre-assessment. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I hope you have your pre-assessment out so you can compare answers with mine. So the first section says add or subtract, and then they have A through D with these different problems. So I've already done these ahead of time to make the video go a little smoother. So I'm going to move this aside. So question number 1A was 1/6 plus 2 1/4. So I need to think, what can I use, money or time, to help me convert these, or a ratio table? I decided, because I know that 1/6 of an hour is 10 minutes, and 1/4 of an hour is 15 minutes, so I converted to time. So I did 10/60 plus 2 15/60, and I got 2 25/60. Which then, if you wanted to, you could simplify even farther and change it to 2 5/12. Okay, the next problem, problem B, 1B, was 5/6 plus 1/3. Again, I knew that 5/6 of an hour is really 50 minutes, and 1/3 of an hour is the same thing as 20 minutes. So 50/60 plus 20/60 is 70/60. Which is actually 1 hour and 10 out of 60 minutes. And I could reduce that even farther if I wanted by dropping a place value and crossing off the zeros and get 1 1/6. Problem C, 1C, I have 5/6 minus 1/3. So again, I just converted these already up here into 50/60 and 20/60. So I'm going to do the same thing because it's already done. Only this time I'm going to subtract. So 50/60 minus 20/60 is 30/60. Well, 30/60 is the same thing as 3/6 if I drop my place value of my zeros, right? Or it's also the same thing as 1/2. So any of those answers would work. On the last one for number 1 is D. So I had 1 1/5 minus 3/10, and fifths, that's too hard for me to convert. I can do it into money, but I'm sorry, not money, into clocks, but for me it's easier just to think about money because I know that 1/5 of a dollar is 20 cents. So I did 1 20/100 minus 3/10. So I changed my 3/10 to 30 cents out of 100 cents. Or 30 cents out of a dollar. So I have 1 20/100 minus 30 out of 100. I'm sorry, minus 30/100, which is the same thing as saying 120 cents out of a dollar minus 30 cents out of a dollar, which gets me 90/100 or 9/10. Then moving on to section 2, it says write equivalent fractions with common denominators and use them to add or subtract the fractions. Well, that's pretty much what we already did up here in part 1. They just didn't have the blanks. So this time you not only get credit for showing how you converted, either money, time, or using ratio table, but you also get credit for the answer. So on number 2A, here I have 1/2 plus 1/3. So I'm going to use time, I'm going to use hours. So 6/12 plus 4/12, because 1/2 of the clock, 1/2 of the hours on the clock is same as 6 out of 12 hours. And 1/3 is the same as 4/12. So 6/12 plus 4/12 equals 10/12. I'm going to show you that on one of these clocks here really quick. Sorry for the pause. But here on a clock, what I mean by that is if I cut this clock in half, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 12. So this would be 6/12. Okay, so I can convert the 1/2 into 6/12. Over here, if I look at 1/3 of the clock, if I cut this into thirds, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3. And if I look at the first 1/3, 4 is out of 12 hours. So now I have 6 twelfths plus 4 twelfths, which then gives me 10 twelfths. Okay, on my next one, B, here I have 3 and 4/15 plus 2 and 1/3. Well, for me, I could change it into minutes on the clock, so I could do out of 60 minutes. But I wanted to show you another strategy and use the ratio table. So down here, I used the ratio table. I used 3 and 4/15 and 2 and 1/3. And I said, what can I do to make these denominators have the same number? Well, if I multiply this by 5, I now change that to 15, and whatever I do the bottom, I have to do the top. So I then multiply this by 5. So now my 1/3 changed to 5/15. So I now have 3 and 4/15 plus 2 and 5/15, which then gives me 5 and 9/15. Or if I know how to simplify, you can reduce it down and know that it's 5 and 3/5. Either answer will work. For number C, or letter C, here I had 3/5 and 4/10. Again, I wanted to go ahead and use the ratio table because for me that's the easiest way. So this time, instead of bumping my denominator up, instead of multiplying, I went ahead and divided. So I could multiply this and try and get it to a 10, but I decided to cut it in half. So I took 3/5 and left it as is, and then I had 4/10. And I divided my 10, I cut it in half by 2, and then I cut my 4 in half by 2, which dropped it to 2/5. So now I have 3/5 minus 2/5, which gives me 1/5 as my final answer. My last one, D, I went ahead and used the ratio table again, because the ratio table is my favorite. So I have 10/16 minus 5/8. This time I realized that I couldn't cut this one. I could cut this one in half, or I could double this one. So I just went ahead and doubled this one. So I took 5/8 and I doubled the top and I doubled the bottom and gave me 10/16. Well, 10/16 minus 10/16 equals a whole 0. And that was it for those problems 1 and 2A through D. Now I'm going to go ahead and check out the back of my page, which is actually the next one, 3A and B. Find the following: 1/3 of 27 and 1/12 times 60. When it says 1/3 of 27, it's the same thing as saying 1/3 times 27. This, it's the same thing as saying 1/12 of 60. It doesn't matter how it's written. The of still means times. Okay, so in the first one, 3A, I have here, let me move this so it doesn't get confusing. In the first one, I have 1/3 of 27. And what I did, I know that this 3 means 3 equal groups, so I made 3 boxes. And I know that I have 27, so I have to split up my 27 into my 3 equal boxes. So first thing I did was split up. I put 5 in each, 5, 5, and 5, which gave me 15. Well, that wasn't 27, so then I did 2 more. So I put 2, 2, and 2, okay, which was another 6. Well, 15 plus 6 is 21, still not 27. So I tried 2 more, 2, 2, and 2, which then I had 15 plus 6 is 21, plus another 6 is 27. So my answer, 27 and 27, 3 equal groups. I knew that 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9. So each group, 1/3 of 27, would be 9. Because this is 1/3, this is 1/3, and this is 1/3. Moving on to the next. The next problem was 1/12 times 26, or 1/12 of 26. I'm sorry, not 26, sorry, 1/12 times 6, or 1/12 of 6. So I know that I now need 12 equal groups. So I made 12 groups. I have a 3 by 4, which is 12, or I have 6 and 6, which is 12. And if I have to split 6 up, I know I can't put 1 in each box because that wouldn't be enough. But I know that if I cut these down the middle here, I have 6 here and 6 here, which tells me if I put a half in each of these boxes, they would be equal to 12. 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2, 12 times would give me 6. So 1/12 times 6, or 1/12 of 6, is 1/2. Okay, my next problem, C. Oh, not C, but my next problem on my sheet. Let's see what it is. I believe it's a story problem. It is. Mark drove 3/4 of a 36-kilometer trip before he stopped to get gas for his car. How many kilometers had Mark driven at that point? Show your work. So we're looking for 3/4 of 36, just like we just did. 3/4 of 36 kilometers. Okay, so here I know from this problem that I need 4 equal groups dividing 36 up. So here I did 3/4 of 36. I know I need 4 equal groups. So I made 4 circles this time. And me, I know that 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I put 9 in each group. And this is 1/4, this is 1/4, this is 1/4, and this is 1/4. All together to equal 4/4, or 1 group of 36. Okay, so I needed 3 out of 4 of those equal groups. So if I use this one, and this one, because 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4, right? Not 1 whole. We would have 9 plus 9 plus 9, which would give us 27. It's kind of a trick. 27 kilometers. And I'm out of room, but kilometers would go right there. Okay? So the last one, I have 1 and 5/6 plus something equals 2. And this one I drew out. I have 1 whole and 5/6, and this much goes right here. Well, if I have 5/6, I know that there's 1/6 left, which means 1 and 5/6 plus 1/6 would equal 2. So 1/6 is my answer. Okay, in problem B, here I have blank plus 5/8 equals 3/4. First thing I have to do is make sure that I have common denominators. So this time I'm going to use a ratio table. So I have 5/8 and I have 3/4. If I multiply the 4 times 2 and the 3 times 2, I then get 6/8. Now my denominators are common. They're the same. So I can say that I have 5/8 equals 6/8. Something plus 5/8 equals 6/8 based on how I use the ratio table. Well, 1/8 plus 5/8 would equal 6/8. So now I can see that the answer is 1/8. On my next problem, C, I have 3 and 1/4 minus something equals 1. So this one I went ahead and drew it out. 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1/4 minus something to get me 1. So all I want left is 1 right here. This is what I want left. So if I cut out this, and cut out this, well, that's 1, 2, and 1/4. So if I cut out 2 and 1/4, I would still have 1. So my answer is 2 and 1/4. And that's it for the first page of the Unit 2 pre-assessment.